What up, guys? We're back with another one. And on today's episode, we are continuing reading Reddit stories so you don't have to. This is part 4. And today we're going to do some paranormal stories. I hope you guys enjoyed the last couple that we did. I know it's been a while since I've done it, but the views on it seem to be doing pretty good. So, I mean, might as well just give it another try. So, let's get into it. I just arrived to work an hour early. I don't know how to explain this. I'm genuinely concerned I may have lost it a little, but I've been sitting in my car for the past 20 minutes thinking about it. I woke up at 8 a.m., took my time, and I was a little late getting to work. At 9:27, start time is 9:25. I walk up to the office door and it's locked. I'm kind of confused. So I knock thinking, "Oh, well, yeah, they got me for being late, but my boss is actually there," and opens the door and is surprised I'm here. Here so early? I almost apologized for being late, but he said early. We bantered for a minute and I made my way over to the restroom and I looked at my phone. 8:34. What the fuck? I have one alarm for my phone. It's for work. If I need another, I'll make it and delete it afterwards. I also always use my GPS when arriving to work so I know if there's any traffic to avoid. I always am looking for at time. I specifically remember this morning being woken up by my alarm and looking at it, wishing I had a couple more hours. I've had a couple paranormal experiences in my life that I don't really want to get into, but this is giving me that sick feeling that those didn't, huh? Sorry. Sick feeling that those did, like my brain just experienced something it really shouldn't have and doesn't know how to respond. I don't know. I didn't wake up early. First of all, this is it's kind of crazy, you know what I mean? I think it's funny how they said that they have one alarm and it's just for work, and like they delete it afterwards if it's for any other reason. Me, on the other hand, I'm gonna be for real with you guys. I have like 20 million alarms and I always forget to delete them. The only reason for that is because I do like shift, like I do day shifts and I do night shifts. So like I have some for when I have to wake up early or if I wake up earlier than what I need to. And it's a bad habit. I should be deleting all of them, but I don't. I don't. I'm guilty. Sorry, guys. And I don't know how this could be considered a paranormal experience because I mean, I kind of feel like it's kind of a weird kind of like, what's the word? This is like a weird phenomenon because there's been times where like, I mean, it's not really relative to her situation, her or him, whatever the situation is, but there's been plenty of times where like I forgot to set my alarm, and for some reason like I've woken up like literally like an hour before my alarm or like 30 minutes before my alarm, and I'm like, well, before my alarm that I would have set, but it's not set. So I'm just like, oh my God, thank everything. Thank my intuition. Thank my body twitches and everything. Yeah. Let's get into the next story. It hissed at me. I've had all sorts of experiences with the paranormal since a child that has followed me into adulthood, but want to share one of my experiences that have occurred as of this week. I've never experienced this before. Myself and my husband were sitting in the kitchen watching TikToks together. While he's munching on some snacks before bed, I started having this negative feeling in my gut that I get when I'm around bad energy, and it felt heavy, suffocating even. But I tried ignoring it, but it just wouldn't budge. I told my husband what I was feeling, and he said, "Well, that's just freaked me out." And I said, "Why has it freaked you out?" Then he went to explain he kept seeing a ball of light in his peripheral vision, but was trying to ignore it. I had to check on him and the kids in case I was sensing they were up to something they shouldn't have been, but everything was fine. Though my husband had goosebumps, his hair stood up on the back of his neck when he reached to the top of the stairs. My husband came back downstairs and sat in the kitchen. I just came out of the bathroom and stood in the hallway outside of the bathroom while speaking to him from the kitchen door. The energy felt heavy. The feeling returned in my gut and something was right behind my shoulder. Couldn't be seen, but could be sensed by me. And we just heard a shh. Sounded like a loud hiss. And I just looked behind me and slowly walked away towards my husband. And he said, "Did you just hear that?" I said, what, the hiss?" "Yeah, I heard it." My husband went to proceed to talk to, huh? My husband went to proceed to talk about it, saying it was right next to you, and it was a really loud shh. I told him not to talk about it and carry on like it didn't happen. In my experience, the more you talk about it, the more shit happens. A day prior to this, we heard footsteps ascending the stairs and the stairs creaking. My advice to anyone who experienced the paranormal is this: if it feels negative, ignore it. Don't freak out. Don't pay attention to it. If you feel like you can't do that, remove yourself until you are more calm and collected. I just wanted to share my experience, I guess. It's the first time something has ever hissed at me, and I felt like I was under a spiritual attack. It felt oppressive. That's kind of crazy. These stories so far are kind of like, they're kind of tame. They're not too crazy. But personally, me, I don't think I've really experienced anything out of the paranormal or the paranorm, whatever you want to consider it. But I've always wanted to experience it, and I know I probably shouldn't wish that self upon me, because you never know. It might be a situation like this where I might be, whipping it up in the kitchen, or just, obviously recording a video, and then, I feel like it's kind of not likely to happen in the situation where we're at right now, just because we live in an apartment and we have two cats and a dog. So it's like any random noise out here, I'm most likely going to have the idea that it's for sure from them. Unless I'm somewhere where I could see all of them and they're not making any noise, and I hear something when I know damn well no one's here, then maybe I might be a little kind of tweaked out. But yeah, that was a good story. My childhood imaginary friend may actually be a ghost or a demon playing with my girlfriend's son. I don't actually remember a lot of this. It's mostly from stories told by my parents, though I do have some fractured memories. When I was a kid, maybe 4 to 9, I'm 30 now. I lived in an old hospital turned apartment building that has enough stories about hauntings that Chad Lewis and Terry Frisk wanted to interview people in the apartment for the Wisconsin Road Guide to haunted locations. Though he never talked to me or my parents, as they didn't know who he was at the time. Well, I had an imaginary friend named Jack, who, according to child me, was an old man who died in my room when it was a hospital. I supposedly knew a lot about him, how he looked, his wife's name, details about his life, if he was a real person. Apparently, Jack would tell me I suppose to keep him secret, but I was a child with a big mouth. Jack would constantly prank me by doing things to get me in trouble, like making a mess or telling me to talk back to my parents, to which I would blame Jack. Now I know it sounds like kid making excuses for bad behavior, and I always laughed off the stories as exactly that. There was one time I fully remember being at aunt's house after going to the bathroom and washed my hands. Jack flicked the water all over the mirror and I got lightly scolded for it. But to this day, I am 100% confident that I didn't do it. I remember clearly as a child being certain it was Jack and confused he was there when I was supposed to be at the apartment. Now skip 20 years-ish later, I have moved back into that building, the same floor, but the other side of the building where my girlfriend with her 7-year-old twins. I only have ever told my girlfriend about Jack one time when we first moved in. She swears she hears weird noises at night pretty regularly in the rooms inside of the apartment, and said there was a light when I was at work. And she was in bed and felt someone sit on the end of our bed. She thought I got home early, and when she looked, there was no one there, but the bed was indented like someone was sitting on it. We've only ever talked about stuff like this when we were kids, or their dads, so they wouldn't know anything about it. The last couple weeks, both of them have been talking back constantly to one of the twins, had been running around laughing and talking to himself when he's alone in the room. We've asked about imaginary friends or what he's doing when he's playing like that, but he won't say anything more than, I don't know, just playing. My girlfriend said she could tell he was holding something back. It made me think of Jack, so I asked him straight up if he knew about ghosts and if he thought they were real, or if he's seen and refused to look at me and just kept trying to hide a smile, smiling, saying no. I asked if he was seen anyone in there named Jack. He snapped his head back and took me at wide eyes and just uncovered an ancient secret. I kind of panicked for a second, but we just dropped it until we went back to dad's again. My girlfriend was terrified. It is a malevolent spirit attaching to her son and telling him secrets from us. I'm still grappling the fact the stories of my childhood imaginary friend have been some spirits or demon. That's all stuff that might be real. I don't know what to do. It seems harmless. The old man trickster ghost that kind of was annoying. Sometimes worse, pretending to be harmless. I didn't speak aloud. If you don't leave those kids alone, I will cleanse this entire apartment without the question. I don't care if you have history. When my girlfriend and I were discussing about it afterwards, the kids were gone. Honestly, guys, I'd be like butchering these stories like hardcore. And you'd like do more of this. But honestly, like this situation's pretty crazy because like you always hear like in certain stories or like when a place is haunted and it's like always like, oh, I have the child or your kid has an imaginary friend, and it's always like some kind of spirit thing that you can't see but they could see, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because it's like how are like children kind of have like that kind of, you know, ability to be able to see something that's not there, like an apparition or a ghost, you would say. So because I always hear that a lot. It's always like, oh, well, like, oh, like this is my friend Jack, this and that, so and so, right? And then the parents are always like, who's that? And if this was me, like, you know, me and Larissa had a kid, and then, you know, I come home one day and then she's like, oh, this guy's like has like an imaginary friend. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like if I was hearing that and, you know, I talked to my child and been like, so you have an imaginary friend? And then she started like describing him and everything. Two things are going to run through my brain. One, if it's a ghost, please let it be a ghost. Because if it's an actual person in the house is getting swept up, bro. Every little nook and cranny, the attic, everything. Because I've heard so many stories of where, you know, there's a secret room or this and that, or like they could hear people in the walls and shit. God damn it, dude. If I found out like there was a person in there and then they were talking to my child, dude, someone's gonna die. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But no, like I feel like that's the more scarier thing about it. About this situation specifically, because if it's a ghost, obviously that's fucking terrifying, right? But let it be that over it being some actual fucking person, because someone's gonna die. Someone's gonna die. 3 distinct knocks at my door at 3:50 a.m. I was having trouble sleeping because it was too hot. But just before 4 a.m., my dog came and woke me up. She came up right beside me to tap me with her paw. She's only done that twice before. Once when another dog was having a medical emergency in the middle of the night, and the other when I woke up next to her and someone had broken into my car outside. I thought maybe I was tossing and turning. She came to comfort me. But then I heard 3 very uniform, distinct knocks at my front door. I was already awake, but the knocks woke up my husband next to me. He said, "Who's knocking at the door? What time is it?" I said 3:50. We both scrambled to put our clothes on, and I told my husband, grab his gun. I looked through the curtains and didn't see anything or anyone, just a still night. I checked to make sure the doors were all locked. The hair on my arms were completely standing, and one giant chill froze over my body. Now I can't see very well. What or who was it? Like I said, if this was me, and to be 100% honest, like I said, live in an apartment right now. Someone's knocking at the door at 3:50 a.m. I'm either going to assume 2 things. 1, I'm being too loud. Or 2, there's a creature of the night outside. You know what I mean? These apartments that we're staying at are kind of crazy. I could tell some stories about this, honestly. All right, so we got some like small stories right here off of like kind of like the uncanny stuff. So, yeah, let's get it. When I was somewhere around 6 or 7, my dad and I would eat at restaurants for dinner a lot. I just moved in with him. He was single and worked a ton. And going out was fun for me because I was a very social kid and talked to everyone. We were regulars everywhere, and everyone seemed to really enjoy my personality. We went to a restaurant one night. There was a couple there we've never met before. He chatted with them. They drank and smoked. At the end of the night, my dad agreed to let me spend the night at their house. They didn't bring any kids with them. They didn't have any kids. I also the kind of kid that would call my dad to come get me when I was supposed to spend the night at the sitter's house because I wanted to come home. I remember getting into their house and kind of being confused as to why I was there. It was the middle of the night and I was nervous. I was kind of excited thinking we were going to do something really cool, but ultimately confused. I remember they had a dog. The lady changed clothes in front of me. I don't remember anything after that. I don't remember having any conversations about it later. I have no fucking idea why that happened or what I did when I was there. I'm not implying anything sinister. It was just weird that it happened. Okay, so first of all, let me just say, what the fuck's up with the dad? Because it says right here, the dad and this child, I'm assuming, we don't know the gender of this child. You know, this dad said that they met this new couple that they never met before and they're super friendly, but excuse the fuck out of me, how are you gonna let your 6 to 7 year old son/daughter go to a random stranger's house in the middle of the night for a sleepover? Okay, first of all, put this motherfucker in jail. Put him in jail, take away his child, because that is crazy. That is crazy. That wouldn't even be a thought in my head. Even if I was, you know, a single dad, whatever, me and my child are like the best of buddies and I trust my child, whatever, this and that. There's no goddamn way I'm going to be like, "Oh, here, take care of my child. Like, I got to do something tonight." You're a stranger. What are you talking about, bro? Let's see. I think this guy's got another story. Let's see. I have one more. When my parents were still together, I was probably 5 or so. We went on a long car ride. I was in my swimsuit, so I guess we were going to the beach, but my 2 older sisters weren't there. We finally got to this huge cement kind of platform that overlooked the ocean. It was pretty cloudy, windy day. We got out of the car and I was excited to go swimming, but my parents weren't wearing swimsuits. I don't think we've ever gone to the beach before. We walked over the edge of the platform and they told me to go down the ladder. I kind of guessed they were going to teach me how to swim. I went down a little bit and I looked up at them. "Are you coming?" But they told me keep going. I got out of the water. I got to the water, but was still on the ladder. There was nothing but ocean around me except for the platform. I heard some noises that sounded like it came from under the water, and it scared me. I thought it was a shark. Lol. I scurried back up the ladder and we got into the car when I left. I was always wondering about that. Bro, okay. Whoever this person is, their parents are a piece of shit, because so there's that story right there. And then someone commented on the story, "What the fuck? Did you talk about this with your parents?" And then the guy said, "I feel like I've brought it up before. I'm sure my dad told me he doesn't remember. I don't think about it fairly often because it was scary. If I think about it when I visit, maybe one day I'll see what happens." Bro, let's see. Does this guy have another story? That's fucking insane. Okay, let's see. I was 26 years old and working at a retail store, but I'm short and I can easily be mistaken for a high schooler or slightly older. I was in the middle of working and was in full uniform as well as wearing an orange apron while standing at the register. This dude comes up to me and talking to me like I was a lost child in the store. Then he tried to get me to go with him to go look for my parents. He refused to stop until my head cashier stepped in and stopped him and told him, "Leave the store." A few days later, during my next shift, I found out he was caught walking around the store again, and I already left the store. I had been creeping around and looking for unsuspecting kids. Okay, so she's 26, working at a working at a retail store, right? But she could be mistaken for a high schooler. Okay. I mean, I understand the idea that 16 to 17-year-olds could work during the summertime at a job. But most of the time, you know, I don't think they're going to put you in that kind of position, especially if you're underage like that. Just because of that, you know, they might put you as a cook. Regardless, who the fuck is this man, like, that's stupid, bro. He's trying to tell him to look for her parents. Like, dude, this motherfucker walks into an establishment and on the prowl for looking for children is what this story is. Like, I get that, you know, like that's totally it's not a normal thing, but like if any creeps, pervs, or anything like that want to look for children, yes, they do go to stores, but like the fucking cashier, I don't know. That's kind of a crazy story, but you know, I'm going to call it right here you know, this was an interesting one, and I kind of fumbled a lot of what I was saying half the time, but like I said, this is reading Reddit stories so you don't have to. Part 4. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I stumbled a lot, but if you guys want to see more of this, let me know in the comments, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.